All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Let's do a couple field crop update. A few of these fields have been struggling. Some are succeeding better than others, but let's do a quick update on this stuff because it's an interesting journey this year. And before we get into it, thoughts and prayers to the family that lost their family member at the Trump rally. They got up that morning. They were expecting to just have a beautiful day with great Americans and wonderful human beings. And because of one sick person, their family member ain't coming home from a simple rally, a stupid rally, and their family member is not coming home. So today, take 30 seconds to just stop and give a little prayer for the family, and then continue your day. But we can do that. We can do that as good human beings. That's all we're saying about that is so crop update. Here is the 100-acre soybean field. It was a Hail Mary attempt. Rain was bearing down on us again, and at that time the forecast, I got a horse fly. At that time the forecast was very wet behind that rain, and they were talking significant rain. And so that was going to be the end of planting for a lot of us around here. So I had time for one shot, whether it was tillage, spraying, or planting. And I thought, you know, if seed aren't in the ground, there's no reason to till or spray. So let's put seed in the ground, and then I got something to fight for. And then for several weeks, nothing came up. It was pathetic. When I came out to spray, you guys were here, and there might have been, you know, I was trying to be really optimistic. That there was nothing of a stand. There was nothing. I ate so much Tums in the last couple of weeks. I don't sleep. I pace the house at night because you're thinking, how is 30 to 40 acres of a crop? How is 30 or 40% of a crop going to pay for the rest of that field? It's not. That math doesn't work. But here we are today with a slight improvement. So we got emergence going on. This is a little bit of a tougher area. You can see as we go up this way, the beans have nice color, nice rows. So there is some really good looking crop out there. At this point, I would say of planted acres, we probably got a solid 80% emergence. This is a great example of what we're fighting here. And so you got kind of this little swale or impression here. The weed control worked really well. You can see it's mostly dead and dying, except some of these patches like this where the grass is just so powerful. It did not care. And so we'll come back out with one more round of herbicide here fairly soon. I want to give these beans another week of growing and getting stronger before we hit them with any herbicide. These are regular beans. They're GMO beans, so we're not going to have the Cobra burn to knock them back, but they still have to process all that herbicide. And so I want to give them a week of growth to get bigger and stronger. We'll come out one more pass. We'll finish cleaning this field up, and then if we have to for the rest of the year, come out with the cultivator and control weeds for the rest of the year that way. And so yeah, I'm very thankful. God does love me. He does. I know the last 5 years absolutely kicked me in the teeth, knocked me down kind of world. They always say God never gives you more than you can handle. My only question to that is, does he have to push me to the breaking point every single day? Apparently he's forging me in fire. I must be strong at some level. But yeah, so hey, at least there's potential here. So now with the crop that's here, we have a choice. We can just sit back and do like we always do with beans. Throw the seed out there, spray some herbicide, and then spend the rest of the summer hoping and praying that we get a good yield, or we can come out here and manage the crap out of these things. If we have to foliar feed or top dress at some point, we're going to. If we have to cultivate several times to finish cleaning this field up and getting these plants going, that's what we're going to do. We're going to invest time, labor, energy, and whatever these little guys need. We're going to do the best that we absolutely can for them. So you got, these beans need to do 120% to make up for what's missing across the field. And we could, if we have a late fall, if we have a late frost, we got a fantastic opportunity here. If we have an early frost, there will be a line of equipment that will probably sell for cheap. We cannot have an early frost. These beans got way too far to go to early frost. There will be no till next year. Not because I don't believe in it, just because every field is just loaded with ruts, and a lot of these ruts go right into the headland. And yeah, but let's go to the next field and see how that's turning out. All right, so this is that cornfield. It was really uneven. It was terribly yellow. It had random plants showing potassium, phosphorus, sulfur, nitrogen deficiency, which all leads us the common denominator to oxygen. It was very oxygen deficient. And so it was on the struggle bus. It had front row seats on the struggle bus, and it was not enjoying that ride. So we top dressed with some nitrogen, and I'm glad we did hold back our nitrogen program until later in the season. We came by with that first pass of nitrogen. We threw some extra P and K and sulfur and calcium in there just to help it along. I believe them nutrients are still in our soil. They might have just gotten, especially the sulfur and nitrogen, they're probably pulling away with all the water we had. They're very mobile. They're pulling away from our roots right now. And so hopefully late season, we'll finally start rooting down and catch that. And maybe we finish strong. But then we came back, instead of just throwing on all the nitrogen at one time, and then again, just sitting on the pontoon all summer and, and just like, I hope we have a good crop. Let's put in the effort. Let's work extra hard. Let's invest a little bit into this crop. And so then we came back, we did a V3 to V5 foliar feed to complement the macro nutrients that were spread out here in that foliar feed. Do your own reading and research on V3 to V5 on corn. There's many trials out there showing that is a significant point of influence, and it's paying off. It's very much paying off. We are green to the ground. Some of the old growth leaves still show the damage, but we are green to the ground. Here I've been pacing back and forth. You don't have to go very deep into the soil, and you run into moisture, and so that is really good. We came by yesterday. The mill came by yesterday, added the second pass of nitrogen. Just now getting a solid waist high out here. Put us too far behind from normal at this point. The mill and John come by. He put some nitrogen out here. We weren't quite sure. I talked to some people about testing the soil for nitrate testing to build this second pass, and I was getting a lot of hems and haws, and with the amount of rain, we don't know how deep do you have to push the probe to start to find your nitrogen, and they weren't having a whole lot of confidence in building a nitrogen program around that soil test this year. So we fall back on experience. And so then we fall back on experience and a little common sense and a little diagnosing. And so, hey, normally on a normal year, we'd throw 100 pounds out at this time for them last few end credits. But because some of our early stuff got away, because of some variability in the crop, let's add an extra 50 pounds, $12 to the acre, for that $12 to make sure that even the ugly spots really get up. Is there some spots that's going to be an over application? A little bit, yes. In our area, after decades of nitrogen on corn trials, very rarely has nitrogen application not paid off. There's that fine line. That's a much bigger conversation, so to speak. But with broadcasting fertilizer up here on a normal year, I would have been managing my nitrogen, but we needed help this year. We're still playing catch up. We added that extra nitrogen because had we made an error on the low side of nitrogen and some of them spots ran out of steam a little early, that we could have easily scrubbed off 10, 20, 30 bushel to the acre in them areas. By adding that extra $12 an acre of a little extra nitrogen, we know that them low areas are going to pick that up, and the areas that are doing good could easily pick up and maximize our yield, push that yield a little bit where the area where things are just going good. And like I said, hopefully when the roots root down, they might capture some of them early nutrients and we finish that much stronger. So we also added calcium and sulfur again with this nitrogen, just to kind of help keep pushing us along. Now we cultivated to try and get some oxygen into this ground, and I think that helped quite a bit. And now we're just going to kind of wait until R2 brown silk kind of area. And then at that point, we're going to come in here. Different John is going to come up with his drone, and we're going to foliar feed at R2, do some research on R2 foliar feeding as well. There's a tremendous amount of data and research out there. That's the growth stage where we're moving to ear fill, and that's when the plant is trying to inhale all the NPK sulfur that it can. At that point, we're not putting out any micros. The V3 is where the micros went in. At that brown silk, we're just trying to get a little bit of NPK on that plant to help stimulate some more nutrient movement through the plant. All in all, I'm very happy that our efforts are paying off in this field. How about that? I don't know how else to say it. It's a year, I believe, that management will pay. We can see it in the fields that were all nitrogen ahead of the planter. The yellow spots are growing, not going away, and this is way too early in the year for yellow to be growing through the field. You are going to be losing a tremendous amount of yield in them spots. And so it's a tough, challenging year. It's a very challenging year. We have been working nonstop at doing it, and we'll get to the next field, a hay field, and I will show you why. I'll explain why we have to go nonstop on that hay field, or why that hay field is making us continue to go nonstop. All right, so here's a bean field. This field I thought we were never going to get into. I had assumed that this field was going to be the problem because there's a huge basin out there that just, is normally wet. And the North Headland is normally just a disaster. Even on a normal year, it's a very wet kind of field out there. And so when I came in with the mulch master, I thought, well, you know, I planted the couple spots of soybeans that I'm like, okay, I know I can get them spots planted, so let's spray them, hit them with the mulch master and plant them. And the one field I did not have to even hit with the mulch master, just a normal no-till field. Then I was like, I don't know what field to do next. So I came over here with the mulch master, and this is the one you saw me on video doing, and it was phenomenal, or quote unquote phenomenal. And then we planted it and got it sprayed on time. And I made a couple passes here with the cultivator just to try it out in the beans, just to see what I need to change. You can see it's a very minimum disturbance cultivator because we still have all the residue on top. It literally just lifts the soil up and it breaks the roots of the weeds. We're not churning the crap out of the soil. But they're looking very good. The beans look very good. I always joke, the best beans are the ones you spill. And we had problems. There's a little bit of a hydraulic oil mess, and there's another hydraulic oil mess. We had problems. I took it during the rain back to the landlord with the seed auger. And so I kicked the beans around with my foot, you know, so they didn't just sit in a pile and rot. And the best beans here are the ones that never got put into the ground. That's how wet we are. The only problem we have, last year's corn was very small ears. A lot of the ears were too low to even pick up with the corn head, and some of them were so small that they just ran through the corn head and got chopped. So we got a lot of volunteer corn coming. When it's thick clumps like that, it ain't even going to make an ear. When we come through with the cultivator again, we'll knock 90% of that out. That's a non-issue for me, but it is an eyesore from the road. All in all, I am extremely happy with this field because I didn't even expect to be here. So here's where a lot of time is being spent, is trying to get going on the hay harvest. Our first cutting here is you know, the end of the first week of July, which is a little bit later than I'd like to. These hay fields, these grass horse hay fields don't cut like alfalfa. They're a different time frame. But off of this 35-acre field, we ended up with 120 bales. That is a lot. Our best before that was about 75. And so you plan your day like, yes, we'll just go, you know, it takes the same amount of time to cut it and raking it, but you're like, well, we'll just go bale that up, you know, and make 70 bales and just be done, and in a couple loads we'll have hay moved. Well, 120 bales later, you're like, oofda, that was a long day. And so the two of us have been out here cut, rake, bale, wrap, and then hauling off and stacking up at home. The really cool part about this field is now the landlord will allow us permission to tear this field up. The pocket gophers have completely destroyed this field. And so on a nice grass field, you should be baling 14, 15 miles an hour, not 4. And so they have completely destroyed this field. It's been old sod. Again, this is one of them old fields typical of the area. It's been old sod for 20 years. There was a year John and Tom got to tear it up. But that, yeah, by golly, that had to be not too much after the turn of the century. So you've got a decade and a half that this field hasn't been turned over. We were the first people in a lot of years, well, since they had it for a couple of years, we were the first people since then to put fertilizer out here. So he's going to let us tear this up, fix it up, smooth it out, get rid of the gopher mounds, and then we're going to follow it. John down at Peterson's came up with a really cool forage mix. Another guy used it a few years ago and it worked really well. I hate deciding between several companies, but I had several different co-ops give me their idea of what they would do for a fall forage to make some cow feed on these acres, and John's was the best mix. So here in the next few days, once we get done with our last hay field, we're going to tear this up and get it fixed up and seeded to a fall forage for the cows for even more tonnage. So if this 35 acres ends the year with 250 bales of good quality feed, that is the cheapest feed you can produce. And so yeah, but that takes a lot of time. I'll tell you what, I can farm a lot of acres of corn and beans with just a little bit of tillage and chemical versus a couple acres of hay. Hay just takes time. And so you can see the mud on the 4430 that I did get into a spot in a hay field where I shouldn't have. But yeah, all right, here we go. This is the last field. We're being eaten alive by deer flies. You can see that the yellow along the hill is mostly gone, and the corn for the most part is doing quite phenomenal. This is where I was row cultivating second pass not too long ago, and now it's easily up to my chest line. It gets a little taller. Walk up there, it gets a little taller. But yeah, ouch, you little buggers. But yeah, it's going very well. And like I said, I think management this year, management and a little bit of hard work is going to help pull us through some of this tough spring. We can see a few prills down here yet. They're probably there's a couple white ones that would be the nitrogen, but we also got moisture sitting right at the surface, so them prills will be gone in no time. Yeah, this is shaping up to a really wonderful little field. I like this. All right, guys, I'll leave you there. I appreciate you very much for watching, and I got rake hay. We're supposed to be getting some storms tonight, so we quit cutting hay the other day, and we just got a few acres to finish up. We're just going to do a quick rake bale wrap, and then that will put a wrap on the hay for a couple days until we can get back out here. And so yeah,